Good afternoon and welcome to the National Black MBA Leadership Expo. My name is Damian Donaldson and I will be the tech person for this evening. We want to remind everybody that you will be on listen only mode. This meeting is being recorded, and for best viewing, we recommend that you change your viewing screen into the speaker view. You can do that by accessing the icon on the upper right hand corner and selecting speaker view. If you do have any questions, we are hoping that you will have questions for Joe Handy. We want you to direct those questions in the chat room to Tiffany Perry, who is actually going to be our event host. So without further ado, please welcome Tiffany Perry.
Hi, good evening, actually good afternoon, and thank you so much for joining us for the Leadership Expo. My name is Tiffany Perry, and I'm the Director of Membership for the Los Angeles chapter of the National Black MBA. And we are delighted to start this meeting with a fireside chat with Joe Handy. He is the President and CEO of the National Black MBA. And then there will be an opportunity for you to ask the president questions. Then after the fireside chat, we're going to transition to chapter business and host an officer candidate forum. Just so you know, on September 4th, we will have elections for chapter office positions. And during today's candidate forum, we're going to give each candidate for office an opportunity to share their platform and what they want to accomplish in their role. Then we're going to close out with some announcements about upcoming events and other opportunities and ways for you to get involved. So with that, I'm going to pass the floor to John Walls, our Los Angeles chapter president, to introduce Joe Handy.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you again for joining us today. We are honored and privileged to have Joe Handy join us today. As everyone knows, he's the president and chief executive of the National Black MBA Association. And I've had an opportunity to work with him closely personally, and I can say definitively that the organization is in very, very good hands. In terms of Joe's background, he's an accomplished business and operations executive with an impeccable track record, strong business acumen, vision, and an entrepreneurial mindset. In 2005, Handy joined the Georgia Aquarium and went on to serve as the aquarium's president and chief operating officer in 2017. He brings a strong history of leadership to his new role with the National Black MBA, and also more than 20 years of experience in cultural institutions. Beyond his work at the Georgia Aquarium, Handy is heavily involved in the community. He serves on the Kennesaw State University Foundation Board of Trustees. He's an advisor. He's on the advisory board of KSU Business School, the Morehouse Leadership Honor Society, and the board of directors of the Georgia Chamber of Commerce. Joe has also received numerous accolades, including the Atlanta Business League Men of Influence Award, a Georgia State Remarkable and Distinguished Georgian Resolution, Atlanta's Leading Influencer Award, and the Secretary of State's Outstanding Georgia Citizen Award. So as you can see, this is a very accomplished individual we're honored to have with us. Joe is born and raised in my hometown of New York, and he graduated with honors from the College of New Rochelle with a liberal arts degree and a concentration in political science. He later went on to earn his executive MBA at Kennesaw State University. So again, let me offer a warm welcome to you, Joe. We're so pleased that you're here, and look forward to the exciting dialogue that you'll have with Tiffany. Thanks so much.
John and Tiffany, thank you so much for those kind words. I really appreciate the invite. I'm looking forward to robust dialogue. I'm looking forward to hearing all the questions that the group has and giving you a little bit more insight about not only myself, but insight in the National Black MBA Association. So Tiffany and John, thank you again.
Thank you so much for joining us. I know we've had some folks just recently join who may have missed the initial instructions. So I'm going to be having some dialogue, some back and forth questions with Joe, but we are going to open up the floor to take questions from our audience. So if you have a question for Joe, please type your question in the chat to me, And then after my conversation with Joe, I will pull up those questions and have folks come off of mute and ask those questions. And so without further ado, let's jump right on into the dialogue. So Joe, can you tell us a bit more about yourself and specifically, why did you get involved with the National Black MBA? And can you just share your journey to become the president of the organization?
Absolutely, Tiffany. So I'll try not to bore you with too many details, but just to give you a little insight about who I am. I had the fortunate blessing of being raised by very strong women. And those women had instilled in me a level of servant leadership and being able to not only reach forward as you try to aspire to build your career, but also reach back within your community. So my career path has been putting myself in positions where I can be helpful to my community, all while still aspiring for success in my own personal life. This past year in 2020, I think everyone had to pause and reflect on what was most important to them. And I had to really think about, where did I want to spend my time? Where did I want to present my talent and my skills? And if I looked 5 years from now, would I be happy with the work that I'm doing? And it came to a point where National Black MBA Association was looking for a leader. And I found myself compelled to want to be a part of the organization, not only for the strong foundation it had been, but also all of the work that it had accomplished within our Black community. And I wanted to be a part of it. So in my time at Georgia Aquarium, I spent a lot of time in helping our community recognize that there were different career paths that exist in the zoological operations. And I said that instead of doing and sort of going out into the community and representing that opportunity for Black individuals, just to give you a little bit of insight, the time that I was president of Georgia Aquarium, I was the only president of a zoological organization in the United States, which is a travesty. The fact of the matter is that our community and our kids weren't getting a memo that there are 137 different career paths that exist in zoological operations. And I realized by talking to many of my peers that our community didn't fully understand all of the opportunities that exist in different career paths. So you have this moment where I had to pause these sort of efforts that I was doing part-time as a president of a zoological organization. And I felt that with National Black MBA Association, I can do that. I can sort of fulfill that passion all day, full time.
Thank you for sharing that background to us. Just a bit more about your role as president. So how long is your tenure as president, and really what do you want to accomplish?
So I can no longer say I'm new to this role. I've been in this role since October of 2020. And one of the things that I would be proud of if I were able to accomplish during my time with National is to create a brand awareness. Throughout this year, we have seen that a lot of people are familiar with us, but there are many folks that aren't. And I want to make sure that that when people are thinking about Black talent and the opportunity to highlight Black talent, that they're thinking about the National Black MBA Association. Additionally, I want to make sure that we as an organization are taking bold steps, not only representing our community, but having a voice for our community. So being in places where there are issues and concerns that negatively and positively impact our community, and being able to highlight those and speak to those. And also being in a position that the organization can hold many of these companies that have stepped out and made these public statements to ensure that they're actually living beyond the hashtag. So when companies say that they're doing something in the Black community and they're elevating Black talent within their organizations, I want this organization to be the scorecard to ensure that that is actually happening.
I want to put a pin on the last thing that you just said, because I do want to come back to that. But before we jump into that further, I do want to find out from you, just kind of stepping back and looking at sort of national leadership. What can you say are kind of like the top priorities of national leadership for the full organization over the next, year or two?
I think once again, going back to holding companies accountable and ensuring that we're continuing to create that pipeline for Black talent in a number of different ways, not only from a employee standpoint, but also from an employer standpoint. We want to make sure that we're supporting our entrepreneurs and supporting small businesses, because we know that small businesses is sort of the heartbeat of America, ensuring that there's economic development and there's economic mobility. And we know that Black businesses hire Black people. So we want to make sure not only are we helping folks elevate within specific career paths, but we also want to ensure that we're looking at supporting for entrepreneurs.
So just going down the entrepreneur path a little bit, we've seen kind of an explosion of Black people wanting to start their own businesses. So, and the National Black MBA for years has been hosting a lot of programming around helping those, new entrepreneurs. Can you share a little bit about what might be new or different that you see the organization doing over the next, couple of years around just kind of building up more entrepreneurs and really supporting them?
Absolutely. So interestingly enough, August is Black Business Month, celebrating Black businesses. So one of the things that National is looking to do is create these wraparound services for Black businesses. So in many cases, 90%, and I could be a little off, but it's a huge percentage, a high percentage of Black-owned businesses are sole proprietors, meaning that they are either service or they are the only employee of a business. We need to make sure that we're elevating and giving the opportunities for small Black businesses to grow so that they can expand. In addition, we need to make sure that we are providing wraparound services to allow for them to grow. So if a small business is focused on providing a service or providing a product, we want to make sure that we're helping them with their website design. We want to make sure that we're helping them with their finances. We want to make sure that we're helping them with a growth strategy. So we want to create these wraparound services to ensure that these small businesses survive and thrive and expand.
So one of the things you mentioned earlier was around, holding these companies who've made commitments to hire more Black people, elevate more Black people in positions of leadership, like really kind of hold them accountable. Just kind of stepping back, it's been, over a year since the death of George Floyd, and companies have committed tens, hundreds of millions of dollars to that effort. Do you see companies following through on those commitments?
I think many companies will follow through, but the travesty is that there will be many companies that don't. So now that the spotlight isn't on, we have gone past the event that had taken place last year. We've gone past the trial and we've gotten past the sentencing. And now we need to ensure that companies that have stepped out and it's not as what I would say media focused, that they are still committed to helping the Black community. So that is part and parcel of what I'm referring to as far as holding these companies accountable. So I think that there are some companies, because of the groundswell within their organization, that will do what they committed to do. But I am also concerned that some of these companies will scale back. And we've seen a little bit of that presently, where companies have said they're going to do something and they haven't done it.
So has the National Black MBA organization itself seen more support from corporations?
We've had more conversations, let's say that. Now, the proof is going to be in the pudding. We need to ensure that we are working with these companies. And keep in mind, I don't want to sort of broad stroke this and say that this is across the board. But there are companies that have stepped up and have committed and have made contributions to our community by way of scholarships, to our community by way of helping businesses thrive and investments in HBCUs. The challenge is ensuring that all of the companies that made a commitment are doing something within our community.
So it sounds like, there's kind of a trickle, there's some uptick. in supporting the organization, supporting Black entrepreneurs, elevating Black people in positions of leadership. But, as we move away farther and farther from the death of George Floyd, you see the commitment level be a little shaky.
That's a good
So my
way
question
of
is,
putting it.
how do we make it sustainable? Like, what can we do to make that partnership and support from those corporations like sustainable over the long term?
So Tiffany, what I would say to that is we have to mobilize our, what I would consider boots on the ground. We have 41 chapters throughout the United States. National can't be everywhere at all times, but we can look at leveraging the relationships and the relationships that our chapters have within their community. So if you hear something, let's talk about, let's bring it to national, and let's have a conversation about companies that you are working with to see if they're doing what they committed to do. And let's work within those companies to ensure that, one, we have members within that company so that we have someone that is on the inside, so to speak, but ensuring that when companies are making these statements, we are made aware of those statements and we can hold those companies accountable from a local level and from a national level. So I would say the best way to accomplish that is mobilizing the resources that we have, and the resources are our local chapters.
So just switching gears a little bit, I'm thinking about the relationship between national and, our local chapters, and specifically with the West. How does national want to increase that engagement and support with national and with the Western chapters?
I would say, it shouldn't be isolated to the Western chapters. The relationship between national and all chapters should be strengthened. And once again, all of our chapters are in our local market and they are boots on the ground. Your visibility from a local chapter is far greater than our visibility as a headquarters. So you know what's going on in your respective areas, and it just needs to be continual dialogue between headquarters and headquarters and the local chapters so that we can be supportive of what's going on in your specific region.
Okay.
And vice versa. There may be something that you need, that we may need to mobilize, like a company's coming to us and saying they want to have exposure in LA. We want to be able to have that sort of relationship that we can introduce that conversation to you.
And we have conference coming up, next month, national conference coming up next month. What can we look forward to? What's going to be kind of new and different?
Well, for us, the new and different is going to be our hybrid approach. I would say in 2020, everything stopped, but we still wanted to have the impact and touch points within our membership as well as our partners. So we went fully virtual. What we saw with being fully virtual is we were able to have a larger reach. So some of our HBCUs that don't have the ability to travel or can't get over the travel hurdle, we were able to meet them in their place. We were able to meet them in their space, and they can get a lot more folks in one room to experience the conference than they can get individually to attend the conference. So we don't want to abandon that ability to be able to go into these HBCUs that have a travel hurdle. But we also know that there is something magical when you walk past a booth and you make eye contact with a recruiter from a said company that's able to solicit you and sell their company, and you be a part of that organization and embrace that culture. So the best of both worlds is what's going to be new and different. And quite honestly, I don't think that we're going to move away from that because of the benefits that exist from an in-person and the benefit that exists from a virtual.
Do you see having the virtual in-person option like being something that the organization continues beyond 2021?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. I think that we've appreciated the benefit of having both, and me personally, I wouldn't step away from that.
Mm-hmm. So I want to thank you so much. This has been a really great conversation. I've learned a lot. And I just kind of want to open it up. If folks have questions or just a comment for Joe, please submit your question to me in the chat. And then what I'll do is I will call you off of mute to ask your question. So I have a question from Alexis C. in regards to the Wells Fargo CEO. Alexis, would you like to come off of mute and ask your question to Joe?
Hi, Mr. Handy, how are you?
It's Joe. How you doing, Alexis?
I'm doing well. I had asked in regards to Wells Fargo. I know last year the CEO had made some unflattering comments, and I was just wondering if discussions had continued. Is he working to address the pipeline in regards to our talent with Black MBA?
So interestingly enough, and those of you who attended the conference or registered for the conference prior to the CEO making that statement would have seen that there was a lot of exposure from Wells Fargo at the conference. So this was sort of day -10 for me because I wasn't even on board at the time, but I was made aware of the statements that the CEO made. And that is exactly what I'm talking about. Wells Fargo had a relationship with National. So it was a misquote on his part. Secondly, we were already in talks about being able to be part of our Gold Key Access, which brings talent within Wells Fargo. So second misstep. And the fact of the matter is there is huge amount of talent within our community. And the fact that someone would say that they can't find talent just illustrates the inability to look in the right places. So we have to use this as an opportunity to educate, because that is a good way to step away from a commitment to say that you can't find. So what we need to do is work harder in highlighting our brand, work harder in highlighting the talent that exists within our community, and work harder in highlighting the successes that we have had as an organization over the 51 years that we've been in existence.
I have a question from Taylor Thornton about communicating our local efforts. Taylor, would you like to come off of mute and ask your question?
Yes, thank you. Hi, Joe.
Hi, Taylor.
So my question was pertaining to what you mentioned about collaborating with National in regards to any efforts that we have or concerns that we have locally. So how do you suggest that we do that? Is that the responsibility of the local chapter president, or would that be or is there an opportunity for more open communication and collaboration?
I think that, and I don't want to take anything away from the local presidents, but I would say that that we are all members of this organization. This is all of our organization, and it will be successful based on all of our input and all of our efforts. So I wouldn't let that prohibit a good idea or something that could benefit the chapters and the entire organization. So there's a email address. It's chapter.relations@nbmbaa.org. And I would use that as an opportunity to present some ideas. Also, my email address is joe.handy@nbmbaa.org. And I would love to hear ideas. Someone once told me, and some of you know me or heard me say this, I'm big on quotes. I love quotes. And when people pour an idea on a concept in me, I feel the need to share it. Someone once told me, what skill or talent are you holding hostage from the rest of the world? So there's no benefit in holding ideas back, because you never know what success or what seed can be planted and nurtured from that idea.
Thank you.
Thank you, Taylor.
We have a couple more questions, related to national and local and that partnership. So Linda, do you want to come off of mute and ask your question to Joe?
Sure. Hi, Joe. How are you?
Doing well, Linda. How are you?
Good. My question is, since we've lost several chapters on the West Coast, and it's been happening for over several years, what is your strategy, or if you have a strategy, on increasing some brand awareness, entrepreneur opportunities in new markets, such as, say, Las Vegas, who has an enormous amount of professionals, Black folks, and entrepreneurs?
I would say that this is an effort for all of us, because we need to be able to highlight our successes, share our successes, and sort of pat ourselves on the back. We have a brand awareness opportunity, whereas people who aren't familiar with us and aren't familiar with our work and aren't familiar with our success, and more importantly, aren't familiar with the talent that would exist within our membership, we need to highlight that. And I'm a believer that success breeds success. So if we can illustrate what exists within the organization, if we can highlight our brand and our talent, I am confident that we will see growth, not only in our membership, but growth in our chapters. And I hope I'm not speaking out of turn. I just was in Arkansas last Thursday. Pardon me, the days start to blend together. But I met with a group of Black individuals that are looking to rally folks in Arkansas. And those are the things that we want to replicate in other cities. So I would say in LA or on the West Coast, look at your network, look at opportunities that exist of getting folks together and either grow your current chapter or look at planting a seed for another area to establish their own chapter. We know that with our success and the more people that we have as part of what I would call the family, the bigger and the more impact that we would have in our community. So the work that we do is not self-serving, it is actually to uplift our community. So why not share that with more folks?
I have another question that kind of relates to the national local kind of partnership. John, do you want to come off of mute and ask your question?
Sure. Thank you, Tiffany. Joe, we're very blessed to have 3 of our former presidents of the LA chapter on the line today, and as you probably know, I'm soon to be a 4th. And so just wanted to hear what thoughts and views you have. First, I wanted to say thank you to the folks that are on the call, but also wanted to see what thoughts and views you have about how to keep the leadership strength that is embedded in our legacy leaders vibrant for not just their local chapters, but for the organization overall.
So John, if I'm hearing you correctly, we want to leverage the sort of the history that exists within our leadership and our legacy leaders.
Correct.
I would say, and I don't know this, so please forgive me if this is already being done. I would just say involve them. Our organization was founded by some extremely bold and ambitious individuals, and they still have contributions that to be made to the organization. And I would just say, as I said earlier, don't hold skills and talents and ideas hostage. I would view that the same as our legacy leaders. Include them, involve them, because they will give a perspective that that would be much appreciated. So once again, another quote. In our organization, we have to be mindful of being both timely and timeless. So timely in the sense of responding to what is happening today. Timely enough to pivot and make sure that we're addressing the issues that exist today. But we also have to balance that with being timeless because of what our organization was built upon. We cannot forget where we've come from because that will help us get to where we need to be. So we have to balance being timely and timeless. So being timeless would include involving those legacy leaders in the direction that we're going, if nothing else, to get a perspective.
Thank you. Switching gears, I have a question about just national conference. Maisha, would you like to come off of mute and ask your question?
Sure. Hi. Hi, Tiffany.
Hi.
Hi, John. Hi, Joe.
How you doing, Maisha?
I am well. So I'm San Francisco chapter president. So I had a few questions. I'll go with the first question. So I was wondering how National is going to tackle the Career Expo in the future and the Career Success Network postings in regards to companies only posting entry-level jobs or bringing entry-level recruiters instead of director plus recruiters and posting those type of jobs.
So I can't speak specifically to that, but I can speak philosophically as to conversations that I'm having as it relates to sourcing talent. We have seen success in our career network for folks looking to have Black talent within the organization. Our Go Key Access has also seen a increase in companies looking for director and senior director and vice president level jobs or positions. We have launched a program, and this is sort of more philosophical, but we're putting rubber to road. We launched a program with Marsh McLennan that will look at identifying folks within our membership, having them go through training with Marsh McLennan, which then transitions to director, senior director, and vice president positions within Marsh McLennan. So this is identifying the talent within our membership and putting them in positions of leadership, not that they get a good look, not that they can apply, not that they will have an opportunity to work at the company. This is identifying and bringing them into an organization. We want to replicate that same process to eliminate the idea that we are not bringing talent within companies at a director, senior director, and vice president level.
Thank you. Maisha, I know you had another question, but I want to jump to another person just so I make sure everybody gets to ask a question. Dr. Stan, I think you had a question in here around strategies to engage companies that are traditionally underrepresented. Did you want to come off of mute and ask your question?
Yes, I was wondering what strategies is the National Black MBA taking to engage with companies that traditionally are unrepresented by African Americans, such as technology companies, that they do show up at the career fair, but some of them, but it's just like, what are we doing to increase the base of what we already have to encourage more African Americans with MBAs to go into those fields, and for companies to engage National Black MBA to actually hire them?
So going back to Marsh McLennan relationship, the insurance business is also an area where Black folks are underrepresented. And that's one of the reasons why we're starting there. One, because of the relationship that we have with Marsh McLennan and some of their staff there. But as it relates to our people going into areas of technology, we need to get them younger. So we need to have a presence with them younger to, once again, going back to understanding that there are opportunities that exist within the technology field that they may not be aware of. In many cases, people, and I'm going to make an assumption that you are familiar with technology, but it's sort of, there's a barrier or a hurdle because of information or fully understanding what a technology field looks like. So if we can get these individuals sooner to educate them of the different career paths that exist in technology, then we can have more exposure of our people in the technology field. So you have to create that baseline of interest in technology in order to be able to have the talent that we can now match with companies that are looking for Black talent within the technology field. So working with technology companies that are saying that they want more Black talent and having that exposure with our community at an earlier stage will allow for what I would consider a pipeline of individuals that are now acquiring that talent to be able to contribute to said company.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, but like for example, Google used to be involved with National Black MBA. I haven't seen them at the conference recently, but they've traditionally have like shown them at the National Black MBA, say that they want African Americans to be employees at Google, but their numbers are consistently and historically low, despite the words that they say. So I was wondering, is there any way that National Black MBA can help engage them to get them to hire and increase their numbers of African Americans?
Well, that goes back to the scorecard that I want the organization to have. I want us to be able to do an assessment of where they are, what they're saying, and be able to, for lack of a better term, call them out on that.
So I think we have time for one more question before we wrap up this portion of the event. Maisha, I think you had one other question around local chapter partnerships, corporate partnerships. Do you want to come off of mute and ask your question about that?
I'm back. The next question that I had was how can national and our local chapters align on the corporate partnerships? Because what I've been seeing, and this is not just our organization, this is a lot of organizations that have a national and local chapters, is like national will have these great relationships with corporate partners who want to come to the conference for the career fair and for the brand recognition. I've done sponsorships, so one of my companies used to do the same thing, but they don't engage at the local level. So I was wondering, like, how can national help be the middleman between the local chapter and the corporate partner? Some ideas that I thought of were like, creating like some kind of requirement or giving them a push or just like requesting that they create a MOU with the local chapter if they're going to become a participant in the conference itself.
Well, Maisha, I agree with you 100%. And the way I view the relationship is local chapters are boots on the ground. And when we have an opportunity for a company to say they want to have a presence, that has to be funneled through the local chapters. This is something that I've discussed with LaPrey. This is something that I've discussed with our team. Local chapters, in my opinion, are boots on the ground. You know what you need in your specific area. You know the relationships that exist. You know what companies are saying in those areas. So if those companies come to national, then 100%, there should be a collaboration with the local chapters. And that has to be done more frequently.
I do want to say LaPrey is doing an amazing job at doing that because he has connected us to some of the corporate partners. So I know he's doing as much as he can. So I do want to say that.
Okay, so you're seeing some of the results. We just need to continue with that momentum.
Yeah, so like Google is one. Google is in our backyard. Google has no engagement with us like that. So it's like things like that. There's a lot of tech companies in my backyard, but they'll go straight to conference first. And I get it because I used to work for one of the largest healthcares, Kaiser Permanente. They did the same thing. So it's something that corporations do, but it's a conversation that sometimes it takes like the national president to say something versus a local chapter president.
Absolutely. I don't disagree with you.
And thank you so much.
Thank you, Mike.
Can you hang on for like 1 minute? Because we have one question from Stan that's kind of related to the same thing. Stan, you had a question around corporate partnerships and retention. Did you want to come off of mute and ask your question, or did you get what you needed from that last answer?
Yes, I did get, but yeah,
Okay.
the question was just like, how is, I guess as a compliment to my previous question, how is National Black MBA going to partner with our corporate partners to help with retention challenges? So, yeah.
I think it's just a matter of continuing to get data, and it's a matter of continuing to have dialogue and ensuring that we have supporting information that can illustrate the issue and being able to work collaboratively to address the concern.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Stan.
Well, Joe, thank you so much for joining us today. If our members want to reach out to you with, questions or comment, what's the best way for them to reach out to you?
Well, there's two ways that you can reach me or reach the organization if questions aren't specific to me. You can send an email to chapters.relations@nbmbaa.org, or you can email me at joe.handy@nbmbaa.org.
Okay. Thank you. So do you want to just type that in the chat before you head off?
Sure.
Type in the chat for everybody so we have that recorded. And I want to just remind folks that we have an event survey that we would like you to complete before the end of the event. Damien is going to be posting the link to the event survey. Please, 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 just take a couple of minutes to complete this short survey. The information that we get from this will be an input into all of the other events that we plan, and really, really appreciate your perspective. So thank you again, Joe, so much for joining us this evening. I know it's late your time, it's almost 8 o'clock. So I'm gonna bid you adieu. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tiffany. John, thank you so much. Thank you all for participating and making time to hear me speak. And thank you for the dialogue and the questions that you had. I look forward to continuing these conversations. I look forward to being supportive of the local chapters. And there's a lot of opportunity for us to do really good work. And once again, the work that we do, keep in mind, it impacts our community. So anything that we could do positively for the organization, positively for our chapters, will positively impact our community. So thank you once again. I hope you all have a wonderful night and continue with this wonderful event.
Thank you so much, Joe. We really appreciate your time, as Tiffany's already said. Have a great night.
Take care. Good night, everyone.
Bye. So we're going to switch gears and kind of shift our focus for the rest of the event to kind of more chapter business. So as I mentioned earlier on this call, on September 4th, we are having officer elections, and we will be distributing ballots to our members on that day. And so we wanted to use this time for our candidates to share their platform. We have 4 candidates running for office. I think 3 of them are on or 3 of the 4 candidates are present today. So we wanted to use some time for our candidates, 3 minutes, to kind of share their platform, what they want to achieve in their role. Then we'll have some time for Q&A for our candidates. Okay, so I think I want to start off with Javon, our candidate for president. Is Javon on the call? Okay. I don't see her. So it might be helpful if I just say who's actually running for office. So Javon Shepard, she's our candidate for president. Jennifer Jeffries is running for VP of administration. Leslie Camille Harris is running as the executive administrator. And then Andrew McLaurin is also running as the executive administrator. So I don't see Javon on the call. If she joins us, we can certainly make space for her to talk. But I do know that Jennifer Jeffries, who is a candidate for the VP of administration, she is on the call. So Jennifer, would you come off of mute and share some remarks?
Sure. Thank you, Tiffany. And thank you to everyone who has joined this afternoon. I hope that you are just as inspired as I was writing copious notes. So I apologize if my energy level is a little low. I'm recovering from being ill, but I could not miss out on this opportunity to hear from Joe, as well as to just make a couple remarks about why I would like to continue as the VPA for the LA chapter. So I've currently been serving in this role since 2020. What a wild year, right? And so my goal is to continue to support the mission of the organization, to protect the institutional knowledge, and as well as ensure a positive and impactful succession plan as we're bidding John adieu and welcoming our incoming president. The three initiatives that I would like to continue to drive, of course, is supporting our mission. I would like to continue to elevate our brand and our brand impact within our local market, as well as continue to support and implement diverse programming to elevate the Black talent that is within our membership and within the footprint that we support. So very quick, very succinct, but those are my plans. And I thank you for this time. Tiffany, I'll turn it back to you.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm going to have all of the candidates speak, and then we can open it up with questions. And feel free to just, if you have a question, just ping me in the chat with your question, or say have a question, and then you can come off of mute and ask your question. So Leslie Camille Harris is running for Executive Administrator. Do you want to come off of mute?
Or why am I upside down on my camera? I don't know what's going on. Look at that. Okay, so I'm gonna put my picture back. I'm not sure why that was doing that. But you guys, you can see my face. Anyways, thank you, Tiffany. My name is Camille Harris, and I currently serve as the chapter secretary / executive administrator, as well as the director of our high school leadership development program, Leaders of Tomorrow. And I'm seeking to continue on in the position of chapter secretary. And so just very briefly, quick little background about myself. I'm a risk management and compliance professional with over 15 years of experience within the financial services industry. I've held such positions as compliance testing officer and risk manager with MUFG Union Bank, and also spent 10 years with Wells Fargo Bank, first as a quality assurance analyst, and then an operational with risk consultant within the wealth management group. Currently, I'm a compliance officer with Pathway Capital Management, where I am responsible for ensuring that the firm conducts its business in compliance with applicable laws, rules, and regulations, amongst other things. I earned my BA in Business Administration from Azusa Pacific University and an MBA from Pepperdine University. And the reason why I'm seeking to continue on as the chapter secretary is, one, our organization's mission resonates with me. And since being on the board since 2017, it has been my goal to be an impactful contributor and helping us to achieve our objectives. And I think first, as my role as the director of Leaders of Tomorrow, and then when I was asked to serve as the secretary, that I've been able to accomplish that. Serving in this kind of dual capacity has given me like a keen insight into what our organization needs and how we can be strategic in moving forward. So it would be my pleasure to serve again. Looking forward to what we have in the years to come, especially once we're past all of this COVID stuff, is what I will call it. So looking forward to being a part of the organization.
Thank you, Camille. And I just learned that Londale Smith is running for treasurer. He's our current treasurer, running again for another term as treasurer. Londale, I believe you're on the call. Would you like to share some remarks?
Yes, I sure will. Good afternoon or evening, everyone. I'm the current treasurer. I've served since January of 2020, and I would definitely, have the intent to continue to serve into 2023. My background, over 6.5 years of corporate accounting experience, as well as 7 years in the financial services industry. And, I definitely stand by the commitment to continue to show financial stewardship in order to, continue the chapter's growth, but also financial sustainability. So I feel like, I'll be a great fit to continue to serve in this role.
Thank you. And Javon, I see you have joined us. Javon Shepard is running for president of the chapter. Would you like to come off of mute and share some remarks?
Yes, thank you. And I just want to say hello to everyone here on the call. It has been a great pleasure to be affiliated with all of you in the chapter for the last 4 years in a kind of a unofficial, official capacity. As you know, many of you may know, and you've heard me say this, that I became affiliated with the chapter when I was at Blue Shield of California. And we brought the chapter in to talk to our Black Employee Network. And I was so impressed that I immediately became a member. And shortly thereafter, I decided to pursue my MBA, and I became a scholarship recipient on the local and the national level. And shortly thereafter, John gave me an offer I couldn't refuse and asked me if I would do some volunteering on the board, and have served in some operational roles since then. And I knew that I wanted to be president of this chapter, one, because of the impactful work that we do, not just for our LOT program, not just for our members, but for our community as a whole. And now 2020, this has been a year like no other. Corporate partners and potential corporate partners really can see our value. And although many of us didn't expect for our work with the chapter to turn out like this, there's hope in 2021 and beyond will give us the opportunity to really showcase why we are the premier organization for diverse talent in the nation, as well as the city of Los Angeles. So looking to really continue to be impactful in the role as president, and looking forward to serve, and looking forward to continue to working with all of you. So thank you.
Thank you. We have another candidate who, Andrew McLaurin, who is running for executive administrator, although I don't believe he's on the call right now. So what I would like to do is open it up for questions. I don't have any questions in the chat to me. I don't know if I'm missing anything. But if somebody has a question, you can either put it in the chat or maybe just come off of mute and ask your questions. It's a little quiet.
I have a question. So this is a question for the two, Javon and Jennifer. Question, what would you do and what's your plan in terms of your strategy to increase membership and board engagement and participation?
Javon, do you want to go first?
Yes, absolutely. I can go first. The first thing I would do to increase membership is really think about leveraging our relationships, not only with what we have in corporate partners, but really leaning on some of our peer diversity organizations. Let's say, for instance, some of our corporate partners and myself are a member of more than one organization. So I'm a member of the L chapter, and I'm also a member of NABA. Why that when we're about looking at increasing our membership, we're only looking at Black professionals. We're looking at, why aren't we looking at, anyone to events, and people follow us on social media. So just really thinking outside the box on how we're really recruiting our membership, and just being really intentional on leveraging some of our other diversity organizations to grow our membership. So that's what I would think about doing. And then, Linda, it's no different in board engagement than it is in membership engagement. You got to give the people what they want. So really offering events that people are going to be excited about coming to, whether it's, board appreciation, or whether it's, a domino game, which I'm always down for, but just really thinking about what the members want or what the board wants, and then crafting events that cater to that.
Jennifer, do you want to share your answer?
Yeah, of course. Thank you. And thank you, Linda, for your question. It's always good to see you. I would piggyback off of what Javon said, but I would say specifically, I think that there's an opportunity for us to have a direct ask from our corporate partners. So as much as we're going to deliver with you, we would like to have your reciprocity in that relationship. And we can specifically ask for, a specific number of memberships, or to get exposure to the board by being a volunteer through the corporate partner relationships and their employee network groups. I think that's something that we could definitely do. And as far as board engagement, I think that as things are normalizing in this virtual setting, people have become accustomed to the virtual platform, and then there's the concerns for the in-person events. I just really think that the opportunity for board engagement does lie in recognition and appreciation in terms of giving the people what they want, but I think it's also in having the right board members with the right enthusiasm and passion. And just to build out a robust team of volunteer support at the board level, so that you don't experience the virtual burnout, or the disengagement that the world has shifted to, because it's easy to turn off your camera. It's easy not to attend, especially when at work, you've been in meetings back to back all day. So I think it's a realistic answer. And I think that it's an easy challenge to solve if we put the right people in place.
I have a question, actually. This is a question for you, Javon. We've been recruiting for a grants director for quite some time. And this position could be a significant impact to the chapter. What do you think are some ways that we can actually, get folks interested in that role, get that position filled?
Quite honestly, I feel like it needs to be time bound. Say, for instance, there may be someone who could, if we have a specific target on a grant that we'd like to apply for, asking someone to write a grant proposal around it, rather than, because everyone is spread thin, and that is, you're right, that is a role that we've had trouble filling. So, hey, we have a grant we'd like to apply for. Would you write this grant proposal for us? And then that way, the person gets in, gets the job done. And actually, I have a specific person, it's Eugene Willis, who was in that role for a minute. But just thinking about ways in which we can leverage more than one person and more than one grant proposal. And then that way, maybe someone wants to find a home. Maybe they'll start to generate ideas and say, well, have you considered this organization or that organization? And then they relax into the role, rather than, hey, you have a 2-year indefinite stretch in front of you, fill this role. And then they're ready to jump out because they can't, they have too many time constraints. So like I said, to begin with, maybe consider shortening the duration of the role so that we can have more than one person do it if we have specific targets.
Okay. I think we have time for just a couple more questions. I don't have any questions in the chat to me, but if somebody has a question for any or all of our candidates, please come off of mute and ask your question.
So I have a question.
Yes.
Go ahead, John.
Thank you. So this is for Siobhan and anyone else who would care to answer the question. Change is important in any organization, and changes in leadership can lead to changes in direction that can be very important and impactful for an organization. And so you've already kind of answered a couple of questions around specific changes based on Linda's prompt. But as you think about it now, and this goes to anyone and everyone who is passionate about answering this question, what's kind of the one or two most important changes that you'd like to implement as the leadership moves into a different direction?
Okay.
And
Thank you,
don't worry,
John.
and don't worry about hurting my feelings.
No, coming off mute. Well, in my field, the one thing I've gotten comfortable with is change. Change is a constant. And believe it or not, that's something I've become increasingly comfortable with. And let's say, for instance, I knew I wanted to be president of the chapter. I didn't know it would be under these circumstances, but what I would do for the chapter is going to be very different from what you did. And it might be different from what Linda did. It might be different from what Lynn did. And each brings their own style to it. The one thing that I would like to see is I would like the board to really play to their strengths and make sure we have the right people in the right roles that they can really play to their strengths best in. One of the things I also talked about on our last board meeting is thinking about our events in not such a siloed way. So even if we have a corporate partner event, why can't there be an element of social networking? So there doesn't seem such a heavy lift. And at a time in which there's not a lot of people raising their hands to volunteer, we can maybe craft events that can serve a dual or a triple purpose as opposed to such heavy lifts each time out. And it's just really being intentional with the time constraints, the people constraints, and quite frankly, the constraints of the world right now, and still trying to be impactful like this chapter is. And like I said, it's been impactful in my life and my development. And I know for a fact, I wouldn't be where I am without the chapter, that I want to make sure that we continue our work so that it can be impactful for that next generation and that to come.
Does any other candidate want to answer that same question?
Yeah, this is Camille. One change that I think I would like to see is as we're in a virtual environment now, and as we go back to in-person, let's not lose what the virtual world gave us. So we cover such a large geographical area. I would love to see us continue to incorporate virtual events. Like I live in the Inland Empire. So sometimes when events are in LA or Orange County, making that drive is just hard when you have a family, you got work, you're kind of, you're going everywhere. And so if we can incorporate virtual activities or make it hybrid, I think that would be wonderful. From an LOT perspective, I see the benefits of it with the students being able to attend. I had students that were coming from as far as Riverside and Moreno Valley. And so there are benefits to being virtual, or at least offering it. So I would love to see where we kind of have that balance so that we're reaching a broader audience and we're not kind of just stuck in like the LA metro area, and we're expanding our reach.
Yes, and I would like to add to that. And I would just like to say, anytime that there's a change of hands, I think it's very important to focus on adequate succession planning, which is already in motion, right? But we need to have defined milestones and expectations set in that with the transition. The second thing that I think is very important is the vision, right? what is the vision? If there is no vision, the people will perish, right? So we need to be very clear about the vision and the direction and the communication strategy as this change of hands is happening. And the third aspect that I think is very important is protecting that institutional knowledge by leveraging the shoulders of those who stood before us, right? So really being connected to and engaged with our advisory board and team, I think will also help us to really strengthen and fortify what we're doing as a chapter during this time of significant change.
And Londale, did you have an answer that you wanted to share?
I think this mixture of, again, I think building upon the foundation we have. A lot of us on the executive board have served for at least a minimum of 2 years. But again, I think noticing and embracing the change. I think we would be very honestly ignorant and even arrogant to not think that, these changes, wouldn't affect us long term. And I think it's for the good. I think just being able to tap into our talents, and also, and honestly, embracing the unknown, as scary as it sounds. A lot of us work in, industries where we focus on what's certain and what we know we can, tie a number to. But I think in our reality, embracing the uncertainty, because I think it unleashes a level of creativity within our board, within our members. And I think that can really unleash a lot of great things as we, move forward into the future as a chapter.
Thank you. And we have time for one more question. Does anybody want to come off of mute and ask their question?
This is not a question, but just a comment. Look, for everyone that is nominated for a position, you have a long legacy of past presidents and people that have really put their time and really honed on all of their expertise in this organization. So there's a lot of pressure, I understand, but just know that we are here to help you, to support you in all of your future endeavors with the chapter. We succeeded, we want you to succeed as well. So don't ever feel like you're by yourself. We're a call away. We help each other out, and we want you to succeed. So good luck. And we're looking for all the presidents. And I know that my soror, my sister Lynn is on the call as well. But we want you to succeed. We succeeded, we want you to as well.
Thank you so much. Thank you to all the candidates for joining us today and sharing your platform. And again, the elections will be September 4th. And I would be remiss if I didn't send another reminder for our event survey. Damien put into the chat box the event survey. Just please take a couple of minutes to quickly fill out that event survey. That's really helpful information that will inform upcoming planning for different events. So thank you so much. So I want to just shift gears a little bit, and Damien, can you pull up, move to the next slide? Okay. Great. So there are a couple of ways that you can become more involved if you are a member of the organization. And I have been a member of the chapter for the past couple of years, and I became more active this year, and I absolutely think it is very rewarding. Number one, you can get involved with a committee. We have a lot of committees that you can see on the list on the right side of this slide. And the committees are a great way for you to kind of dabble, a great way to just kind of put your toe in, commit to what you can commit to for something that's of interest. So we have a lot of different committees, whether it's programming or corporate partner sponsorships, or getting involved with digital media or social networking, or membership if you want to, help with recruiting more members, engaging our members, onboarding them. I absolutely could use the help. And if you go to our website, LABMBA.org, there's at the top of the page, you can click away at the top to become more involved, and you can find a list of all of the committee members of the different committees, and you can click and express your interest in the committee that you want to be involved in. And once you express your interest, that gets routed to the committee chairs and they will reach out to you. So you can sign up from our page, or you can reach out to Nina Shelby, who is the director of programs, and express your interest in getting involved with the committee. And then the second way that you can get involved, Damon, you want to advance the next slide, is by becoming a member of our board. We have quite a few open leadership positions here, and all of these positions that are listed on the slide are open. And so if you just want to learn more about them, please reach out to John Walls, our president at LABMBA.org. If you just want to learn more about the different positions and all of the things that those director positions entail, or you can go to our website as well and sign up to just express interest, and we will reach out to you. And then finally, I wanted to share a couple of more events that are upcoming that you can look forward to. Okay, like I said before, we are having officer elections on September 4th. You'll get a ballot if you're a member, if you're a dues paying member. And we are planning a social networking event in September. Once we finalize all the details, dates and that location and everything, we will post that on all of our social media, and you'll hear more about it in our bi-weekly newsletter. And then, of course, it's not too late to sign up for our annual conference that's going to be happening on September 14th through the 18th. And you can join in person or you can join virtually, so you have that option as well. And this concludes our event. Thank you, everybody, for joining. It was a great dialogue, and I look forward to seeing you at an upcoming event. Thank you.
Thank you all. Have a good one.
Thank you all. Have a good night,
Thank you,
everybody.
Tiffany.
Take
You did
care.
an
Thanks,
excellent job
everyone.
hosting us. Thank you so much.
Awesome
Thank
job,
you.
Tiffany. Thank you so much. And
Bye.
shout outs to Chicago and San Francisco and I think North Carolina, if I'm not mistaken, for all the folks who chimed in from other chapters across the country. Certainly appreciate the support.
All right.
All right. Good night, everyone.
We'll see you all very soon.
Thanks so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Good night.